Well, thank you all for being here this early in the morning, watching a film. And it's a funny film, I hope. And the question is, of course, why... I'm a finance person. I'm an academician, and I worked in the banking sector in the 90s, 10 years, and since 2000 in the pension and insurance industry at my own company. And the question is, why do you make a film about, in this case, about financial instability? Of course, it's to a certain extent just luck. I ran into Terry Jones around 7-8 years ago, from Monty Python, and we got involved in a very small film in 2009. And then we stayed friends, and in 2011 or 12, I gave an inaugural speech at the VU University in Amsterdam about, more or less about Hyman Minsky and about financial instability and how human nature leads to endogenous instability, and instead of the so supposed equilibrium thinking of the mainstream, at least what I think is mainstream. And so when I joined the university in Amsterdam in 2010, I said I want to change education. And my inaugural speech was about changing education at the level of more diversity. We need more diverse thinking, complexity, behavioral finance, behavioral economics, lots of other things than I got taught when I was young. I'm still young, but I used to be younger. And
every day, one day older.
Yes. And so, what happened, of course, when we, after writing down my inaugural speech, Terry Jones read it, and he said, hey, maybe we should make a documentary out of it. And that's how it started. Actually, 2 weeks later, we started to make a script. In the end, it took 2.5 years before we finished it, so it wasn't that easy to make a film. I'm not a born filmmaker. Terry is, by the way. But the underlying reason that I started to make this film is probably somewhere in the 90s when I'm a finance person, and I worked 25 years in risk management, only risk management. So I was only assessing risks, and I started with the tools I got from the university. And there was Markovich and Sharp and all these tools about measuring risk, measuring volatility, and then you knew exactly how you could put it into models. I even wrote a book about it in the Netherlands, and it's supported my career. But I found out, thanks to working at ING in the 90s, they were heavily involved in emerging markets, that these markets were always very calm and very overconfident at some point, and then suddenly they would collapse. And it happened quite often in the 90s. And so and my models didn't work, and I told the central bank, because I had to make value at risk models to measure the capital requirements, and I said, but these models don't work. I mean, if I do an event risk scenario, I get 5-6 times more than the amount of capital that you require based on value at risk. And he said, yeah, but you have to use these models. And then everybody had to, and more people had to use these models. And then I got more and more surprised about how this whole world moved into one direction of measuring risk in a nonsensible way. And even later, when I moved to the pension sector, I struggled with the same things. People didn't want to listen because they used all these models, and everything was mean reverting, and the interest rates would go up, so there was no problem with the pension fund sector. And I said, well, you have to change the whole system because the design is wrong. It cannot cope with uncertainty. And so you get more and more frustrated over the years. And at some point, I thought, well, writing doesn't work too well. Maybe I should do something else. And I was lucky to be with Terry Jones, and he's more famous than I am. And he's more funny than I am, and he's more capable of making films. So that's how we started. So it's putting my frustration into something in a positive effort to change, especially education, because I think we need to start at the educational level at the university. I was brainwashed in the wrong direction, I think, with the right intentions. These people are still my friends, all the professors, but it wasn't. I wasn't handed any tools that were useful to me, and I think we need more diversity, and that at the end of the film you will see what the message of the is. that I try to get across. So I would say enjoy.
Let's start a movie.